checking right now to make sure that everything is going smoothly. I think so. I think you should be able to hear me, see me. Just checking. I think so. If not, do comment in the chat box. Let me know if you can't hear me, if you can't see me. Let me know if everything is working. Hopefully it is. But we are live, and thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to go live this week, and I know that I'm still working on some other videos here. Last time I promised you guys that I'm working on a series on Instagram videos and how to brand yourself on Instagram. And that is still coming. But I had to pause for a minute because the editing is taking me a little bit. It's taking me a little bit to edit those videos. So I thought I'd hop in live and talk about something else that's been going on. Now, this one you may be able to relate to. I don't even know how you can't possibly relate to this. But if you are living, breathing as a human being, at some point in time, you have had some negative comments coming your way. Now, this is particularly important for you guys because you're building your brand, right? You're putting yourself, the product that is you. You are putting yourself out there so that people will learn about you, the skills you have to offer. You're putting yourself out there all across social media, all across the digital space. You're taking that risk. And with that lovely risk comes the negative Nancys and the naysayers and every other person who may have an opinion. And that's just real, you know. Shout out to my insiders. I gave you guys a heads up just to let you guys know that I'm going live. It was a short heads up, so I apologize for the short heads up. But in that message, you know, I was telling you guys, it's real, you know, this is real talk. This happens, you know, as you're putting yourself out there. Regardless, even if we didn't have businesses, you're going to have people who will say negative things about your brand, right? And, you know, they maybe don't get it, or maybe they don't like you, you know? It could be those types of things, you know, they either don't get what you're saying, don't like your style, or don't get you, or, you know, maybe they're jealous, you know? Those people exist too, you know? The haters are out there. But, you know, this is how we can handle them, because there's going to be those folks. So, take some notes here, because what I want you to do is not dwell on the negative opinions. You definitely don't want about this, is because just today, this happened today on my channel here on YouTube. One of my videos had a comment. Someone decided to comment on the videos. It was one of my videos doing a review. You can look at my channel, you'll know which one that is. And the person didn't agree with the brand that I went with. And that's fine, you know, we agree to disagree. I didn't mind about that, you know, I was, you know, replying to the comments, and then I realized that there were a lot of comments all of a sudden coming through. And then I realized that the comments became inappropriate. So in that case, myself and another commenter flagged the comment that this person left as inappropriate, and then I had to, you know, Google schmoogle figure out how to block the person, because I actually have been lucky to have wonderful viewers like you guys tuning in and watching and commenting and, you know, doing that. And here we had this person who was just there to drum up trouble, to be offensive. And when I say offensive, I mean it would have gotten worse. It was something, you know, talking physical. You get it. It was offensive. Sexual. It was offensive. So that person, I blocked that person from commenting. Now, in that case, it's called for, you know, it's called for to block the person. But, you know, there may be other situations where it's just the person's just disagreeing with you, or they don't agree what you know, they don't agree with what you have to say, or they're discrediting you, or whatever. They don't view the same things as you do, and, you know, and that's fine. So in those situations, you do have two options. You can either, I'm going to throw this up here for those of you guys who have been on my live streams, you know, I like to make it a little bit fancy. So option number one, what you can do is you can ignore it. You can just ignore it. Leave the comments. Let people have their freedom of speech and ignore it. That's one thing, but with that turning a blind eye, you're taking a risk. I'm just going to be real with you. You're taking a risk because by ignoring it, that person, the person who's comfortably commenting behind their laptop, behind their, mobile device, behind their phones, they can then escalate things. It could start as one comment, and next thing you know, it's like 50 layers of offensiveness. Okay? So that's the risk you take when you ignore the comments. Just think about that. So that's your first option. You can be the bigger person, it might die down. You can be the bigger person, and it may not die down, unfortunately. The second thing you can do, this is your second option. You can actually, and I'm going to recommend this, that you do the second option of actually doing something about it. So when I say do something about it, I mean that I want you to actually tackle this person. Not physically tackle this person. First of all, digitally, it's impossible as of right now. You're not going to virtually tackle this person, manhandle them, though you probably would like to. But you're not going to do that. But what you will do, what I want you to do, is to tell your story. I want you to explain yourself. I don't want you to remain silent. I want you to use the opportunity to tell your side, tell your point of view. That's the point of these platforms. Like, you have your opinion. In the case of my situation, I gave a review. I went with one brand. The person who, before they became offensive, thought, I prefer this other brand. And that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. And what I was doing, the next strategy, is to tell, just briefly, I agree. Let's agree to disagree. I can see their side. I know where they're coming from. They may like this other particular brand, and I agree that that other brand is a strong brand. But I chose, in my review, to go with this other brand. Agree to disagree is a perfectly fine solution. It's okay when it works. But I do really recommend that, just so people can understand what your position is, if they're willing to listen. Sometimes people are there and they just want to sound off, and they just want a platform. They just like to hear themselves talk. So they're not going to listen to you. And that's a reality. There's those folks that are out there. But for those who are willing to be reasonable, do tell them your side of the story. Do comment. It doesn't have to be a whole long, narrative. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It can just be a simple statement just to clarify things. That's it. You're not going to get into a battle with these people. Don't actually tackle them, like I said before, But I do want you to comment. Don't let it just stay there and escalate. The other thing is, let's say that they're not hearing you out. What I want you to do is then block people as needed. Do empower yourself to silence those who are just attacking your brand. If they're just there to be on these platforms to try to bring you down, or, and not even on social media, maybe it's one-on-one in life. If people are trying to attack your brand, this could be people who you may consider friends, or, people in your life. Maybe you need to block them out of your life because they're not helping you to advance. They're not helping you to build your brand. And so therefore, you have to block them, whether it's you cutting them out of your life, or it could be online, where you are blocking them and just preventing them from commenting on your space where you reside. So you may have to take those measures when it becomes something like in my situation where it was becoming offensive. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't get sensitive and just immediately block people for no reason. You do want to have a dialogue, and you do want people to feel comfortable talking to you and having their own opinions. So you don't want to just go crazy blocking people. There's brands out there that do this, and it blows up in their face. Because now people feel as if, well, you're not listening to me. You just blocked me, but you didn't hear my complaint. You didn't hear where I'm coming from. So this comes, and it's tied to my next point, which is very important, is to listen to the logical feedback. So for people who have a point of view, they have an opinion, they may not agree with your brand, you know, they agree to disagree, or you know what, maybe they may get really heated and fired up and they're taking a stance and they're saying, you know what, I don't like your product, or your services didn't help me, or I don't like the way you speak on camera. Or, you know, it could be petty like that. Or, you know, you're subpar, you know. Any kind of feedback that's like that, you know, someone who may think, you know, you're a lower level than, you know, compared to XYZ. So people have their opinions. It could be logical, it could be illogical. But the most important thing for you to do is just to listen and pay attention to what people are saying. You know, pay attention to whether or not these are legit feedback that you need to really take in and help to strengthen your brand. Or is it just an attack? You know, is it something that is just, you know, maybe it's just them putting negativities out there because maybe your product competes with their product, or it could be a million different reasons why. And you don't need to know the root of where the feelings are coming from. You don't need to know that deep down why people may be, you know, what are they doing to come at you. But what you do need to do is to listen to it. So figure out whether it's legit or if it's someone just, like in my case, was probably bored and stumbled on my video and decided to leave a random comment and decided, oh, she responds. Let me see where this goes. You know, one of those things. So just think through where that is coming from. So listen and pay attention. And so, oh, find out where they live. I'm sorry, didn't even see the comments. Find out where they live. Block party in full effect. Yes, I'm all about the block party, okay? So empowering the block party, yes. Block away. Feel free to block them all, especially anybody who is offending you or saying things that are inappropriate. Block in effect all the way. Feel free. But that being said, yes, find out where they live. That's hilarious if you can. But what I do want you to do is to listen to the legit feedback that's out there. So one of the questions that, you know, I get is, okay, well, how do I find out? How do I listen to people? How do I know what people are saying about me? I'm building my brand. I'm putting it out there. How do I know where to go to listen to what people are saying about me? What do I do? So what you want to do is a couple of things. There are different tools out there that you can utilize, use them, help you out. But what you want to do at the very bare minimum, at the basic level, what you want to do on your social media platforms like YouTube or, you know, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you are residing, make sure that your alerts are turned on. And when I'm saying your alerts, your updates, anything having to do with like your your spaces, your platforms that you're on, just make sure that your notifications, thank you, your notifications are turned on so that you know whether somebody is following you, someone commented, someone retweeted something you put out there, did someone shout you out, did they, and you know like on platforms like Twitter, if someone, or actually LinkedIn and a lot of platforms out there, I'm trying to think which ones don't do this now. Even Facebook now has adopted this in the last couple of years. What I'm talking about is if you put the handle of a person, if you put at, like my handle, at Renee Walker Raw, and you say what you have to say, then I get pinged, I get notified that you have commented and you mentioned me in whatever space you're on. So if you want to get the attention of other brands, this is something you should be doing, is to mention them by stating their handle, at so-and-so, at whatever brand you're interested in paying attention to you. You can use their handle in your comments, or you can use any hashtags that they use. Like I use raw branded, you can do hashtag raw branded, and you know, I'm always searching my hashtags to see if someone mentioned it, and that's what you should do as well. If you have a signature hashtag that you're using, do your searches on your platforms and see if anyone mentioned them. Because someone may have used your hashtag, but they didn't incorporate your handle, so you have no idea that they were actually shouting you out. Okay? So that's one way in which you can listen. The other thing is, turn on your alerts, turn on your notifications, Google alerts. The other thing you want to do is add your name, add your brand name, whether your brand name is your actual name or it's your business name, or if it's different from your actual name, add both to Google alerts. Add some variations there. And what you will get, and I'm warning you, you'll get a lot of emails. Okay, daily alerts. I set up daily alerts because I want to know at the moment someone's mentioning me. What's coming up. I get a lot of random Renee Walker stories, and then I get a lot that's associated with a bigger brand out there, a bigger popular brand. So I have to sift through what's in relation to my brand. But at least I know that I'm getting notifications coming into my inbox about my name, my brand mentioned on the internet, out there in the internet world, in the internet world, because that exists, in the digital space. So you're able to know what people are saying about your brand. So what you want to do is set up some Google alerts so that you're always notified. And then a good practice to do, which a lot of people don't do, maybe they're fearful, they're afraid to do this, but Google yourself. Google yourself and see what comes up. What comes up when you Google your name, your brand name? What turns up? I recommend that brands, especially brands that are putting themselves out there pretty frequently, do this often because you want to just test the temperature, see what people are saying. I Google some bigger brands because sometimes I'm just looking up information on what they're doing, or maybe they've launched something and I want to find out where can I find that information. So I'm just Google because I may not know the name of their website, and I just Google their names. And 9 times out of 10, I also find some sort of review. It may be a negative or a positive review about their program or about what they're doing or their speaking engagement and what someone did. Some people write full-on blog posts just critiquing what that person had to say, what they did. So if you're that person, you're a brand that's putting yourself out there, you want to pay attention because you don't know if someone has written some long diary about why your brand, your speech, your product sucked, or how it did change your life for the positive. You don't know where those stories are. And then if that is out there, then you want to speak to that. You may want to engage them. You may want to make a contact and try to put your side of the story out there. And if they don't welcome it on their platform, then you put it on your platform so that you are putting out some sort of content, a blog post, a video, or something that addresses the points that they brought up. Because then at least your side of the story is out there. You always want to put your voice out there. Don't ever let people silence you. Period. Quote of the day. Remember that. When I Google myself, my job comes up. I think they did their SEO too well. So if you Google yourself, your job came up, and you didn't actually want your job to be your priority here, that profile to be the first thing that comes up, then just make sure that your other platform, and it may be SEO, yes, their SEO may be done well, or it's an older site than a site that you have. If that's something that you have, then they're going to outrank you. If they have more backlinks, if they're on a domain, if they're a bigger brand, then yes, they're going to trump your site, especially if your site is a small site that doesn't have a lot of backlinks, and it's not well optimized, it's a newbie site, all those things that they do still matter for SEO purposes, but SEO has gotten so much more complicated that it's not just a direct science like that anymore. Once upon a time, it used to be like you can narrow down these factors and throw in keywords and H1 tags and all of these other things, and optimize your images and put tags all over the place, and you would have your site rank, put all these articles and, what do you call it, in those article factories, and get all these backlinks and, come up in groups. There was all these black hat, white hat tricks to make your site rank higher. And now it's gotten way more complicated that people, we're now just forced to basically pay for ads because Google has set it up that way, where you now have to pay for that ranking. You know, not everyone has to. You know, if you're lucky enough to have a site that ranks pretty well because, you know, it's an older site and all the stars are aligned, that's great. But the majority of sites do have to pay for some sort of rankings for SEO, for Google, not Analytics, for Google AdWords. For AdWords. And also for, not just for Google, but there's also those, I'm forgetting my words, but there's the other, what is it? Like not a community. I'm forgetting. But in advertising, you can place ads in different groups where it's basically your ad will show up on different media sites. So it's tied to Google, but it's not necessarily through Google, but it's more like kind of like an affiliate situation. But in that case, your ads will show up not just on different sites on Google, but it'll show up on maybe different industry sites and on newspaper sites, and you know what I mean? It's specific like that. It's all very complicated, but and I'm forgetting all my terminologies right now. But yes, there is that as well, and I digress. That's for a whole other video that I have to do on SEO. But yes, if that's the case, one of the things that you want to do, your job or some other site comes up that you don't want it to come up, make sure that you have your platform, your site, your presence out there. This is why I stress that you need to have some footing, you know, your own website, your own social media presence out there so that people have your story. They have something else that's out there. Even if this other site over here comes up that you don't want, at least number 2, 3, hopefully right behind it, there's something else that's depicting another side of the story, you know? It really sucks, but a lot of the times people like to rewrite the narrative. There's a lot of rewriting history that takes place, so you want to make sure that you have your side out there. So I hope that was helpful, you guys. I hope you guys, do you have any questions for me? Big takeaways, making sure that you have your presence out there on websites, social media, all of that, that you're telling your story, that you are listening to the feedback, good or bad, and that you're weeding out what's legit feedback versus just attacks and people who are just, you know, on these platforms safely behind their computers, you know, just saying negative things because they can. There are those people out there, and I don't know why. We'll just shake our heads at those people, but they do exist. But the biggies are to make sure that you're paying attention, that you're listening, that you empower yourself. I'll go back again. The listening tools are up. Yes, that you are listening. Make sure you're doing that. Do listen, see what people are saying. But then the other thing is that you're empowering yourself. Make sure that you have the right to block people where it makes sense. If people are being inappropriate and you feel like it's called for, go ahead and do that because that's what's necessary. So, any questions for me? Let me see. When you have to write a rebuttal to a bad review, should you mention the name site of the one who left the bad review? Ooh, if you have to write a rebuttal to a bad review, should you mention the name or the site of the person who left the bad review? So if, hypothetical scenario, I'm trying to think of a media site here. Not really Reddit, well, maybe Reddit or, you know, some site like that. Let's just say example, said something bad. Someone on some other site left a bad comment, right? This is what you're saying about you, your brand, your product, your services, what have you. Should you say, hey, as seen on XYZ site or so-and-so, like, you know, a lot of people used to do this with when Perez Hilton used to be big out there doing his celebrity blogging, and a lot of celebrities were taking offense. Would they then shout out at Perez Hilton? Remember Perez Hilton, if you know anything about this, he had a blog, and he started as a blogger who is doing all this to, talking about celebrities. Now, would that celebrity say, hey, at Perez Hilton, I don't want you to talk about me, or when you said this article, it's totally wrong, or no, I wasn't at the Dairy Queen with XYZ person, would you mention the actual person who is saying the offensive things? In this case, why give them more of a shine? Sometimes people will do that so that they can be mentioned by you, so that it gives them more authority, especially if you're a more popular brand than they are. A lot of times, and you'll see this even on platforms like YouTube, how many times are you, maybe you it depends on your industry if you notice this, but I noticed this in the beauty industry, where there are bigger bloggers out there, well, not bloggers, vloggers. There are bigger YouTubers out there who, in the beauty space, who are pretty popular. And then there are these smaller channels out there that are reporting on these bigger channels, and it's basically like the gossip. They're talking about their lives. They're talking about personal lives. It's beyond them as, let's say, makeup artists, but it's getting into their marriages and, all the gossip. I don't even know how they even can collect all those things since everyone's so not in the same vicinity, but that's the case, and they're making that their thing. Now, in that case, they're clearly trying to get the attention of the larger brand. Now, would it make sense for those bigger brands to then mention the smaller channel? Not so much, because that's what they want. They want XYZ bigger brand to mention them so that they're getting more attention. They're getting more notoriety. They're getting people going to them. In fact, they're pulling the bigger brand's audience to them, because now people are saying, wait, what are you talking about? Who said that? And now they're going to check that person out. So maybe you don't want to give them that much credit, but you do want to address the topic itself. If people want to do the digging, they'll find out. It's the internet. Things are out there forever, so they can just Google schmoogle and find the information that's out there. So it's not like it's going to be hidden forever, but why make it that accessible, and why give that person that much time, So that's what I would say. You got to always be careful about mentioning other people too. It can get complicated. And the next thing you know, they're talking about legalities and defamation of character and all sorts of things. So, although there is freedom of speech and blase, so you sometimes don't even want to mention it because at the very basic level, you're just giving them more awareness. Why give them more publicity? Don't do it. So, I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any other questions, do leave them in the chat box. I will be checking comments. I will come back, check the comments. So do leave some messages. Once again, I hope it was helpful. Don't listen to the negative Nancys and the naysayers and the people out there who are just pushing buttons for fun. And do join the block party. It's okay to block people when they're asking for it, okay? So I hope this was very helpful for you guys. And yeah, do join again next time. I will see you guys soon with those Instagram videos that I'm still working on. But do want you guys to also know that this weekend I am hosting another masterclass. Do go to reneewalker.me/masterclass. You'll find out what time, what day, when this is happening. So if you haven't joined a masterclass on building a authentic and profitable brand, do join that masterclass. Sign up, go to reneewalker.me/masterclass, tell your friends, do join, and I'll see you there. All right, see you next time. Bye, guys.